to address the topic of the session of this afternoon, which is which markets for the mini-launchers. So, and we shall address that. So, and I just attended the interview of the Director General of Visa. I must say that launcher is an interesting piece of discussion these days. Obviously, you all know that Ariane 6 will be launched on the 9th of July. But I would say that 2024 is a fantastic year for launcher because we have started the year with only almost one launcher in the world, SpaceX. There was also Rocket Lab, but and since the beginning of 2024, we had the first launch of Vulcan, the first launch of H3. I would even count the launch of Starliner as a launch. There was obviously Starship, who is making another break. So we shall have Ariane 6, Vega C, and certainly also mini launchers during the year. So meaning that at the end of the year, the situation of launchers will be very, very different from the beginning of the year. So it's an interesting year. Just also to mention that between the 25th of May and the 1st of June, this is the only statistics that I have kept, but there was 6 launch of SpaceX and 5 launch of Chinese launchers. So I must say that we are launching more and more. So this is the situation of 2024. We have in front of us 3 mini launcher enterprise, again with Maya Space, RFA, and PLD, and the director of space transportation. And I shall repeat that Monsieur Aschbacher, in his interview, he has mentioned obviously Ariane 6 and Vega C, but he was mentioning also what he said, micro launchers. So here we are mini launchers, but I shall not start to enter into the semantics between mini and micro. But so we have 46 minutes now to address 4 topics. What I would like is to address 4 topics. The first one, which is the title of the session, which is which markets. So which are the markets that you see? And when I say you, is the 3 enterprise and obviously the ESA, because ESA is not only part of the launcher, but also part of the market, and that is, this is the reason why we shall address. So which markets are you looking at? Or can you provide? The second topic is that you cannot speak of any market without speaking of the competition. So the second topic will be which competitors. It being understood that the competition will be also between the enterprise which are on stage, because I must say that you cannot claim that you like competition and not competing against each other, which is, but also competing with the SpaceX, because SpaceX is de facto the reference launch service in the world, not only for big satellite, but also for small satellite with the transporter launches, and also Ariane 6 and Vega. So which competitors? The third topic is the role of reutilization. Because Monsieur Musk intervened in Vivatech in Paris a couple of weeks ago, and he said either you can be reutilized or you are out, which is an interesting statement. So how do you see that? So this is the third topic. And the fourth topic is which role for ESA and the European institutions. So, which is not only ESA, but obviously there is a significant role of ESA and European institutions. So this is the 4 topics, 10 minutes each, and we shall be at the end. So let's start, and maybe when you intervene, you maybe can say who you are. I have given your name, but you can have 1 or 2 minutes each to say who you are and which are your objectives and where you are compared to your objectives. But I would like to go as quickly as possible to the topics that I was mentioning. So I shall start with the 3 operators, if you agree, Tony. And so let's start by Raoul, who is online, and at least people will see you because you will speak.
Okay, perfect. So I am here with echo. No. So first of all, sorry for being in person because my flight was canceled because of a kind of strike in the airport. And unfortunately for me, it's impossible to be there. So I think everybody knows the space today. As you know, it's the most promising launcher company in Europe today. We are the original one. We found the company in 2011, and we do a lot of progress with past year, launching our technological demonstrator Mira 1, and now preparing our maiden flight of Mira 5 by the end of 2025 from French Guiana in Kourou. So our milestone this year is to grow our infrastructure. So we multiply by 10 our facilities. And now we are preparing, as I mentioned, to do the integration and the final qualification of our vehicle on ground to do that maiden orbital flight by late 2025.
Okay, so Jon.
Does this work? Ah, yeah, it does work. Very good. Yeah, my name is Jörn Spurmann. I'm co-founder and chief commercial officer of Rocket Factory. Raoul is not hearing us, which is good. So now I can say anything about PLD and he doesn't hear it. We are also the most promising launch company of Europe now. I think Jean-Jacques asked a very good question about the competition. The competition is in the world, it's not in Europe. Of course, we are all competing to the blood with each other on stage, but it's in the world. We need to compete with everyone out there, not only us. We are building a launch system of 1.5 ton size. Our baseline launch site is in the UK, in the Shetland Islands. We are good for launch within a couple of weeks, I would say, late this summer. So it's getting really exciting. The team is thrilled. We have been 5.5 years underway now to get where we can eventually come up in summer. You can believe me, everyone is passionately looking forward to achieving it.
Johan.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm Johan Leroy. I'm the CEO of MayaSpace. MayaSpace is a company that has been created 2 years ago with a mission, which is to develop the first reusable and eco-responsible launcher, or at least the first reusable launcher with a vertical landing capability. Our ambition is to develop our launcher in less than 4 years. So we are halfway, if I may say so, and to start, therefore, our commercial operations in 2026 from French Guiana and hopefully from the Soyuz launch pad. So developing the launcher in 4 years is very challenging. I believe we will all agree on this, but we think it is feasible because we do not start from a blank page. Our strategy is to leverage as much as possible existing or upcoming European building blocks like the Prometheus engine that is developed by Ariane Group and that we will buy at commercial conditions. The other very big challenge is to develop a launcher that is competitive, and this is a challenge that we share with the colleagues. It's a very big challenge for 2 reasons. The first one is that we privately fund our NRC, which is not the model that has existed in Europe up to now, and which makes the equation more difficult to solve. And the second one is that the launcher we are developing is of lower capability compared to heavy launchers. And as I believe we will have the opportunity to discuss later on, part of the competition, at least, is the competition from heavy launchers. The launcher that we are developing will have between 500 kilogram and 2.5 ton performance in SSO, which is in terms of order of magnitude 1/10 of what a heavy launcher can provide, which means that the economies of scale are much less good than what they are, and so we need to find a way to compensate for this, of course, which imposes that we develop our launcher differently. A last word about to define who we are. We are today a team of 170 Maya spacers, and with the team we try to combine the best of both worlds. We consider ourselves as a kind of hybrid animal that at the same time leverages the expertise of legacy players, but which also uses the new methods coming from new players. We put this hybridity inside the team. 1/3 of our team comes from legacy players, and 2/3 come from either startups from space, new space startups, or from other industries.
Okay, so Tony, how do you see the mini launchers?
How do I see the mini launchers? So first, let me present myself. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Tony Tolger Nielsen, and I'm Director of Space Transportation at ESA. And as you know, ESA is developing Ariane 6 and Vega C, and it is what we call ESA-developed launchers. And it is our guaranteed access to space, our strategic sovereign access to space. But there has been a paradigm shift in the launcher sector. It goes further back, but it became very visible in CVE when we decided the exploitation model for Ariane 6 and Vega C. We also decided that we need to build the future on more competition in the launcher sector. And we need to build on exactly the mini and micro launchers to be able to introduce more competition. So we are extremely interested in this mini and micro launchers and what they do, and they know we are very interested. But this also dates back to some years ago where we created Boost. Boost is a program that supports micro and mini launchers. So it's not something new, but it has become very visible now. And we are launching the European Launcher Challenge to select a number of startups that we see the potential to grow and maybe eventually be able to even put some competition at the heavy launcher segment. When I say eventually, we are looking into the 30s. So that's why we are extremely interested in these micro and mini launchers. I left the launcher sector 10 years ago to become your Inspector General, Jean-Jacques. And now I came back 1 year ago, and it's completely incredible what has happened, what you have done. That's fantastic. And we are very enthusiastic about that at ESA.
Okay, it's good to have ESA enthusiastic. So thank you very much. And so thank you for your respective presentation. Now I would like again to focus on which markets, and since time is running fast, maybe we can have a discussion on which markets and with which competitors, because I think that there is always a story that is the market big enough for so many launch operators, and that this is certainly a question that I would like to address now. It's which market with which competitors. So maybe now I can start with okay, you, Johan, and after I shall ask Raoul and Johan.
Oh, sure. So market for us isn't really a question. This is always the biggest surprise. Market is just there. We have a pipeline which is more than €1 billion, and it's really not in direct competition to any of the bigger launch vehicles on rideshare. It's 80% of it is looking at a dedicated launch of our small launch system. And that really gives credibility and proof too. It makes sense. Satellites are getting smaller. Smaller launchers actually do make sense. So it's not so much of, is there a market? It is more a question of, is there capacity to launch? And I think that is the question you are asking has been asked many, many times throughout the last years. And that essentially only means there are too little solutions to the problem as of today. If we look to the US and Europe at the moment, we are in a stage where we will see a lot of first flights soon, hopefully. Let's all cross fingers that actually happens. And in the US, we have been there 2 years ago. We had a couple of companies who were in the phase of funding through development to first flight, and we had many of them, and most of them vanished. Let's just be honest. Vector were the first to go away, then Virgin Orbit gone. Relativity changed their plans after a first half-successful flight to move on to bigger launch systems. Astra, yeah, you believe the rumors what you hear. Will they continue or not? Maybe not on launch. Firefly on sale, ULA as well. So there's a lot of change here, right? And none of these companies actually makes it. And I think we will just have to go through the same in Europe. It's pretty clear. It will not be any different here. We will not all be successful. So it will remain, I believe, for quite some time, actually, the same question. Will there be a market because there won't be any solutions? And that's what we need to change this year, that first new solutions enter into the market with test flights, hopefully successful, that there can be commercial service provision, and we actually solve the issue and demonstrate we can do that and there is a market.
Okay, so
Yes.
Raul.
Okay. Yes. No. I'm fully agree with Joe with that topic. We are. Oh my God. We are. I can hear you now, but in my speech. So I fully agree because we are receiving like requests for quotation every week, like several missions that they are asking for launch services that it's impossible to be offered using a heavy launcher like the classic Falcon 9 transportation mission or others. In terms of price, for example, it's super hard for the institutional missions to offer the same prices and the same lead time that we are offering to our customers. So for us, the question is not if there is market there, because we see the market, so we multiply by 2 the people in the sales team to prepare quotations. So it's crazy with the amount of offers that we are receiving every week. So for us, the race, let me say, it's about product assurance. So it's super important to offer reliable launch services because there are so many colleagues in the United States that they fund the project to get orbit to do the first launch attempt, and if you fail, the market moves you out of the business super fast. And this is why at PLD Space we are super compromised with the product assurance to not skip any test, to do, let me say, to do it in a, let me say, in the traditional way to qualify our subsystem and system level technology, because the competition, in our opinion, is not because of the demand, is with the offer. So I think there is a market for a few small launch vehicles in Europe, of course, at a global level, maybe 10, 12. So we see that market, and I think competition it will be very, very good in the same way that there are a lot of, or a few airlines in the civil transportation world. I see a future with this, because the monopoly of SpaceX is not stable in our opinion, because customers, they call us asking for services that it's impossible for SpaceX or for this kind of large organizations to offer to the market. So our vision is that we need to launch in a right cadence, in a right successful ratio, using small and medium and large vehicles, because the demand it's tremendous today.
Johan, do you share the optimism?
Not fully. I agree on the fact that there is a market and that the market is growing. But if I take a slightly different point of view, which is more maybe an economic or financial point of view, the question is whether the market is large enough to turn our activity into a profitable business over the long run. The analysis that we make at MySpace is that if we focus on only one market segment, we will not succeed in making our business a profitable one. The market is not big enough, and the market prices are too low for us to generate the margins that will allow us to reimburse the NRC that we will have privately funded, and to pay for the recurring costs, of course, of our launch services. So for us, a necessary condition to be here for the long run is to be able to address several market segments at the same time. And this is one of the benefits we draw from the fact that our launcher will be reusable. By being reusable, we have 2 launchers for the development cost of 1, if I may say so, because depending on whether we recover or not the first stage, the performance of our launcher is not the same, and we can optimize the fill rate of our launcher depending on the customer needs. And by so doing, we incur only once the cost, the development cost, but we can address a wider market, and so better recoup our investments, launch more often, and so decrease the recurring cost more often, so on and so forth. So in terms of market, yes, there is a market. It is growing, but we believe that to be successful, we need to address a wider market than what logically we could address with a micro launcher or a launcher that is not reusable. Second point on the market, I believe that since it is not big enough, another necessary condition to be successful is to be able to address at the same time the institutional and the commercial market. We do not believe that there is a way to be sustainable from an economic standpoint if we only address the institutional market. Or if we do so, the natural consequence will be that the European taxpayer will need to pay for the development and will probably need to pay for the recurring cost year after year. But we also believe that there is no launcher that can be sustainable if it only focuses on the commercial market. It's a matter of size or of scale.
So just this is a good opportunity to you are part of the institutional market, Monsieur Tolkien-Nielsen. So how do you see that? And
how do I see the institutional market? Let's first talk about this competition. And I hear what you're saying, and I have been visiting RFA and also Maya Space, and I will visit PLD, I think 2nd of July, if I remember correctly. And I see very competitive companies. I think it's very interesting, and I want this competition also at the upper level or middle level, and hopefully in one day at the heavy launcher level. And I also think that your competitiveness depends on the size. And the mini micro launchers we see today might have to evolve, and I've seen you have all plans of that, to have a better specific launch price, so euro per kilogram to a given orbit. Now, having said that, we want to help you grow, and we want to be anchor customer to allow this to happen with institutional missions. For that, it is extremely important that we aggregate the institutional need of launch services. And this is what we are trying to do. We are working a lot with the European Commission to do that. And we will also discuss with EUMETSAT and also national authorities that have needs for launcher services. So this is very important. If we do not do that, we will probably not have the institutional market that is needed to grow you, because your market in micro mini launchers is fine, and some of you have see a big pipeline there, but we need competition in the other segments as well, and that's what we will try to foster. So aggregation of the institutional market, and hopefully we will have enough and to be able to serve the legacy launchers Ariane 6 and Vega C, and also be anchor customer to some of you through this launcher challenge, which we maybe will talk about a little bit later. Sorry for having been long on this, but this is it's more complicated this than getting Ariane 6 to flight, I can tell you.
Okay. I think that we have addressed, just to say for the audience, don't worry, I shall keep some time for an exchange with you, because I must say that I would not like to just to have the succession of monologue, and I would like to have you also in the discussion. So I think that we have already addressed a significant part of the market and even of the competition, and just to take what Johan was saying, he was saying that the reutilization is an interesting way to have for one launcher several segments of the market. How do you see that, Johan?
Yeah, it's a very interesting topic in terms of do we want to build it reusable for that it is reusable, or that it makes sense for whatever reason. And I think that was the driver behind SpaceX, that they said we're going to make the core stage reusable because we cannot manufacture as many as we need to fly every week or twice a week, where they are now during a year. And I think that plays an important role. So per se, to say every launcher in future must be reusable, I don't believe that's a valid statement. Because if you would now go to Vega and say we need to build a reusable Vega core stage, launching 3 times a year, I'm not sure if that would entirely make sense. So it really depends on what cadence you have in mind, what's your use case and what's your business case to decide, is it reusable, yes or no. For us, for the launcher evolution, yes, we will look at it. We have baselines reusability on the core stage. It makes sense on bigger launch systems. On a small system, we will most likely never deploy it. We will try a recovery system to recover it to see what the real numbers are, but more as a testimony to understand cost structures in the future, but not really because it will make sense to recover small rocket stages.
Okay, what you say that the objective is to be competitive. Now, if you need to reuse to be competitive, it may be a way, but I think that the key is to be competitive. So, and yes, by the way, SpaceX has demonstrated that they could be competitive, but that is depending on the market. So, Raoul,
just on
yes.
this, if you allow me, I fully agree with the fact that reusability should be implemented only if it makes sense from a competitive standpoint, and this is exactly the mindset we are in. For heavy launchers, I believe there is a consensus to say that it allows to decrease the cost per kilogram. For mini launchers, it's less obvious, and our personal view on this is that this is not the main benefit from the economic standpoint. The economic benefit is that it allows you to size your rocket exactly to the customer needs, and so address in a competitive manner a larger market segment with the associated benefits I was mentioning in terms of cadence and in terms of resilience as well, because we are all making forecasts on what the market will be. The truth is that nobody has a crystal ball, and nobody really knows what the market will be like in 10 years from now. And personally, I feel much more comfortable with a launcher that has several sweet spots in terms of market than to bet the future of my company only on one market segment. Because if I'm wrong in my market forecast, then I'm dead.
No, I agree. I must say that was, and again, I am not speaking, this was one of my dreams when I was director of launcher some time ago, so it's a long time ago. But it would have been to have a launcher able to launch with only half of the capacity. Let's say An aircraft can go with half of the passengers. A train can go with half of the passengers. And the day we have a launcher able to go with half of the payload capacity, that is certainly the best way to have a very flexible launcher. But that, okay, I am not saying that I have the solution, but at least that I fully agree that to have a flexible launcher able to adapt to the payload and not the payload adapting to the launcher would be an interesting step. Raoul, do you have something to add on that?
Yeah, for sure. So PLD Space is the unique company on the table with reusable experience today with our Mura One launch. We won our first technology development contract inside ESA in 2017 or something like that to develop a parachute technology, the recoverable to dissolve the vehicle, to test engines after splashdown and things like that. So we test all the subsonic phase of the re-entry like 5 years ago. And with Mira One, we test the hypersonic and all the re-entry phase. So we test everything, all the materials. So Mira One has a hide technology like heat shields and things like that to test so many materials to be like super reliable at the very beginning in our manifest of Mira 5. So we not understand the launch industry without reusability. I'm agree that at small scale, so for example, for our Mira 5, our penalty in terms of performance in a reusable rocket, not doing like propulsion landing, just opening parachutes and recovering from the sea the vehicle, the penalty in performance, it's a big amount. But our idea is to start to learn in that technology, because if you not start to develop that technology 4 years ago, you are late on the market. So this is why we start to develop these kind of technologies. And we see in our numbers, in our financial model, that if we are not capable to recover and to reuse the launch vehicles, because there's two different topics. One thing is to recover and another thing is to reuse. And we also not forget that our customers, mainly in the institutional side in Europe, they are asking for circular economy, green solutions and things like that. And it's hard to, for example, to pass today for a formal proposal for the European Commission or for the European Space Agency, even at national level, we need to demonstrate that our solution is fully green. So we are very focused on that. And we are developing, as you know, the synthetic kerosene and also our recoverable and reusable system. It's to not, let me say, add significant harms in the environment. So I think according to our experience and with all the tests that we made in the past 10 years, we trust a lot in our reusability technology, and we not understand that business without that part.
Thank you. Tony.
Okay. I think it would be interesting to look at outside of the space transport sector, what's happening. When you look at shipping, aircraft, trucks, everything, the cost of operation of these systems are linked to the price of fuel. So the fuel is the significant part of the cost of running these systems. And I think it should be the same for space transportation. The cost of the launch should be linked to an important fraction of the fuel. And that means reusability. And also for sustainability, all these private companies that are doing transport, they are subject of strict rules and sustainability, and maybe in the future, reusability will be a condition for a license to launch. So yes, I think we almost prepare and have this technology in mind.
Okay, so now maybe the next topic, because you have mentioned several times, almost each of you, the problem of the scale. Will you stay a mini launcher, or are you looking for evolving towards more performance. Let's say, SpaceX is always taken as a reference, and they have started with Falcon 1, and Falcon 1 was the best way to prepare Falcon 9, and now there is a Starship. But so how do you see the evolution of scale? So, Jorn.
First of all, I think we should become launch companies. We are not yet there. Right now, we are ground system manufacturing automotive companies because no one of us is flying. Sorry, Raoul, I know you had a partly successful first launch of Mira 1. So maybe Raoul is partly there, halfway to orbit, but none of us. And I think that's the first equation to solve and where we really need to focus. Building a launch system, whoever is first doesn't really matter. What you need to achieve is out of the first 10 flights to successfully and reliably flight 8 times, 9 times would be perfect, I think. And that is what we really need to manage in the first place. The scale up, sure, there's a launch challenge coming. Every one of us has plans to grow bigger. And I think SpaceX is a good reference model, what you mentioned. Also the numbers of going from Falcon 1 to Falcon 5, which they never built, and then to Falcon 9. But also Falcon 9 at the beginning was really shitty, right? Sorry to say that's flapsy. They had few people understand how little payload performance you actually bring to orbit from the liftoff mass. It is, for a very good rocket like SpaceX Falcon 9 now, it's 3.5%. Cars have 20, 25% of take-on mass that you can put in the trunk. For launchers, it's very little. And they started with less than 1% on the first flights. And that is the evolution that they did. So they built a system, and then they did different blocks of the technologies for the engines, for example. And with that, they have step-by-step, incrementally improving performance. So the software approach many people are mentioning, transferring that to the launch industry. And I think that is also the key for all of us. If you look at Maya Space Launch System, for example, if you make the numbers, of course, the nominal payload performance can already be much bigger than a few hundred kilos or a ton to orbit. And it's the same for Raoul and for RFA. The biggest systems we have in mind, we also want to fulfill Tony's wish to compete in the medium and heavy lift launch business at some day. And that is, if we have growth plans, the goal we need to achieve.
Okay, so Johan.
So as far as we are concerned, as I have already said, we are leveraging European building blocks like the Prometheus engine, which is a 100-ton thrust engine, and we intend to develop a reusability technology that is like the Prometheus engine, a scalable technology. The Prometheus engine, with its thrust performance, can be put on a heavier launcher without additional development. And the reusability technology that we will try to master with our mini launcher can be used similarly for a heavy launcher. So in that way, we are preparing the next step. What we are used to saying that is that the launcher that we are developing is the precursor of the potential future family of European launchers, including heavy ones. Now, if I focus specifically on Maya Space and on the launcher we are developing, we are doing more or less what you were explaining, Jörn. We develop our launcher with significant performance margin. This is a way for us to secure our development lead time, to have those margins to cope with difficulties that will necessarily pop up during the development and still keep our need date and our maiden flight date in particular, which means that with time we will progressively be able to gain these performance margins back and increase the performance of the launcher. So as I said, our launcher is a two-stage launcher which has between 500 kilogram and 1.5 ton in SSO, depending on whether we recover or not the first stage. We are in parallel with the development of the launcher, developing a kick stage that will add 1 ton of performance to the figures I have given. And as soon as we start launching from an inclined orbit, from French Guiana at least, we will gain again a significant performance and be close to a 4-ton performance, which makes our launcher, with its 3.5 meter diameter fairing, an interesting solution for constellation operators in particular, which is a third market segment that help us get the scale we were talking about.
Okay, so maybe just quickly, Raoul, because I would like to give now also the floor some opportunities to comment or to ask questions.
Yeah, for sure. So from our point of view, it's like obvious. So our ambition is tremendous. We start step by step. Mira One it was for us, let me say, a very very important. It's the basis of our technology, and from there we are developing our next vehicles. So it's incredible with the experience of Mira One with all the technology that successfully flight, fully successful, John, because we accomplish all of our main objective in that mission. And from that, in 2 years, we are capable to put on the path the next vehicle. Because the technology that we are using in both vehicles are almost the same, and why not in 2 years more we can develop a bigger rocket. So we are now doing all as all of us, we are looking at the market, we are trying to follow the market trends and to put, let me say, the sweet spot on the market in terms of performance, cost of development, cost per kilogram launched into orbit. But our idea is, of course, to go higher and higher, because the slot is there. So there are just a few heavy launch operators in the world, and PLD Space, as I mentioned, is one of the most promising ones.
Okay, so thank you. So Tony, I shall give you the final word, but before that, I shall ask the audience if you have any questions, comments, or the floor is yours. Okay, I don't see anyone. Okay, so there is no question. It seems that at least you have convinced everyone. So, Tony, how do you see that, and what are you ready to do for supporting these guys?
As I said, we already have the Boost program. We decided in Seville, there was a resolution that was calling for a European Launcher Challenge, which we are preparing. So the idea is here to make a competition. And what exactly this competition shall be, we have not worked out yet. It can be we buy one demonstration mission, and so it's a service. We buy a service, and we participate to the let's call it the NRC, the non-recurrent cost of that service. That's more or less what the Seville resolution is saying, but it's also saying we shall become or place a number of launch service contracts with the winners of this competition. How many is not defined. We are looking into also an idea of saying, if we buy a lot of launchers, launch services, for example, 10, then maybe someone else would be interested in taking care of the non-recurrent cost. So that's not so clear right now. There's a lot of discussion and a lot of opinions on this, and each company is also a bit different in its situation. So it's quite difficult to make a solution that will be satisfactory for everybody. Now we have issued a request for interest where we are asking each startup what they think about this, and it's closing end of June. We are busy and pressed for time, so we have given maybe too little time to this, but I hope you'll be able to give us some good ideas. We'll work on that. We work with our member states. We have a working group with the potential participating states to this. And I am discussing with the Commission how to organize this, because, of course, they are the most important customer to this. They are about 40% of the institutional demand today in Europe. We shall see what it will be in the future, but Ivy Squared is certainly going to help as well. There's a lot of things going on, and we need to converge on what it is that we are going to do, and we will issue a request for proposals. We will make the competition in the beginning of next year in spring, and then choose a winner, and not a winner, we will choose winners. We don't know how many. It can be 2 or it can be 5, but we should have more than one. Then we will go with this result to the ministerial conference in November in 25, and hopefully get it financed. So it will be financed according to a fair contribution principle. So there will not be any constraints on gear return. Having said that, cooperation has been the fundament of European transport the last 45 years. If proposals have several countries or companies, because we are not really talking about countries, except when it comes to funding. But if there is some diversity in nationality, it would be good. But this is not a request, not a requirement. So that's what the European Launcher Challenge is and what we are planning. As you can hear, there are a number of things that are not completely defined today. And it's normal. We are doing something completely new. We are doing something which will have consequences on the future. So we have to really analyze end to end what this will be, what the launcher sector will look like in the 30s and maybe 40s. So that's what we are doing right now, a complete paradigm shift.
Yes, that is what Monsieur Aschbauer said. He called that a paradigm shift, and I know that not easy to implement a paradigm shift. It's easier to say it than to make it, but I think that you have in the room at least 3 companies who are ready to, which are ready to help you to make the paradigm shift. So I am sure that they will help you, and provided that in return you help them. So I think that maybe we can conclude, because we are close to the end. So we can conclude that I think that there is mutual interest, if I understand well, there is mutual interest between the operators which are there, and which, as Jörn said, they have still to launch and to become an operator. They are not yet operator. They are potential operators, but there is a mutual interest between these potential operators and ESA, which want to make a paradigm shift. I think that you will not make the paradigm shift without them, and they will not grow without you. So I think that I just encourage you to continue to work together, and I am sure that next year we shall be more intelligent next year on the future of mini launchers in Europe. So thank you very much, and have a nice evening. Thank you.